Thank you for joining me again. In this video, I'll be discussing the basic requirements for a visitor visa. When you apply for a visitor visa, there are really three main requirements that you want to prove to the immigration officer to show that you have a strong application. The first is the officer would want to know what is the purpose of your visit. Now, a lot of times you just want to visit Canada and just see the touristic attraction it has to offer. It is important that this comes across in your documentation. So possibly if there's an itinerary that is already scheduled, so for example you have made appointments or you have made reservations to certain restaurants or certain events, you want to include that in your application to show your itinerary throughout your duration in Canada. Now also, when the person who's writing the invitation letter for you, that's also very important. It's important to know who should write this invitation letter. One of the key errors that most clients make is this particular invitation letter. Drafting this is very crucial to the success of the application. So for example, if you have a girlfriend or boyfriend in Canada who wants to write the invitation letter, it's a good idea, except the officer may look at that as a tie to Canada. So who writes this letter is very important. And then demonstrating that this particular person that's writing my invitation letter or writing this invitation for me is not my significant tie to Canada. Having a friend write having a friend write a invitation letter is a little bit better because a friend is one step away. So if it is your girlfriend or boyfriend who's writing your invitation letter or a family member, make sure that you prove the second thing, which is your significant ties to your home country that will show that you will exit the country, exit Canada at the end of your stay. By ties, I mean things like if you're going to school or have gone to school, so providing documentation from your home country, property, insurance, if you're a beneficiary on an application or on a matter that you want to include, bank accounts, investments, family members that you have back home, reference letters, things like this. Now, just adding the documentation usually is not good enough. Explaining those documents in your submission or in your cover letter to the officer, explaining why these are significant ties for you is very important as well. The last thing is obviously proof of funds. Now, a lot of times when you look at how much money you need to show to the officer, that's a little bit questionable. Like, there's no real rule of thumb to say, okay, you have to have this much amount of money in your bank account and those applications would get approved and so forth. But when you look at proving funds, look at how long you're asking to stay in Canada. An example would be if you are asking to stay in Canada for 1 month, then be reasonable as to how much it will cost you to survive that 1 month in Canada. So a reasonable number will depend on where will you be staying, who's providing the accommodation, who's providing the foods and so forth for you. So if you're staying with someone, make sure you have that also in your application, include that. If someone's providing for your food and so forth, you want to include all of those. And then based on that, you can come up with a reasonable amount in your head and then prove that with your documentation, with your bank accounts and so forth. It's preferred to have that liquid cash or investments that you can easily take out if you need to. Properties and things and so forth is good, but when you prove the funds, it needs to be liquid. It needs to be something that you can have immediate access to in case you need it. And again, if you're looking at staying in Canada for 6 months, then you have to budget for that and show that in your bank account. So the funds is a very good question for those of the clients that approach me all the time and say, what is the reasonable amount of money I need to show my account? Just look at what you're asking for, how long you're asking for, who you're staying with, who's providing you the accommodations, the food and so forth. And based on that, use reason to say it is reasonable to show X amount of dollars in my bank account. And then explain that again in your cover letter. I hope that helped. Again, just to summarize, 3 main requirements would be your itinerary showing why you're coming to Canada, proof of funds demonstrating that during your stay in Canada you have sufficient funds to take care of yourself. That funds can be from you, it could be from the person who's inviting you, it could be someone from overseas, such as your parents and so forth, so long as it is explained. And also the third one is proving ties to your home country, showing that you will exit at the end of your stay. I hope this video helped. Until next time.